Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Sanji has always been known for his kind heart and unwavering loyalty to the Straw Hats. Since he joined the crew, he's proven to be much more than just a cook or a skilled fighter. He's one of the emotional pillars of the group, but behind the charming smile and flirty jokes, there's a silent conflict, something that's been growing since his childhood in the Germa Kingdom. Sanji isn't an ordinary human. He's the result of a scientific experiment, a genetic modification carried out by his father, Vinsmoke Judge, with the goal of creating emotionless, cold, and unbeatable soldiers. What set him apart from his brothers was his humanity. Still, that dark side, that artificial legacy, has always been a looming threat. During the battle against Queen and Wano, that side of him became clearer than ever. When Sanji started noticing changes in his body, bones regenerating on their own, superhuman reflexes, insane durability, he was shocked. What scared him the most wasn't the power itself, but what it represented. He feared losing control, feared becoming like his brothers, feared losing his sense of self. In a moment of desperation, he even considered leaving the crew to protect his friends from himself. And that's where the core of this theory begins. Sanji might actually lose control one day. If we take a closer look, Oda planted clear signs that Sanji's fear isn't baseless. There was a moment when he thought he had hit a woman, something that goes against everything he stands for, and it shook him to his core. In that moment, he didn't know if it had truly been him, or if it was a reflection of the emotional programming forced into his mind. That kind of doubt can break anyone from the inside, and Sanji, a man driven by principles, begins to see himself as a ticking time bomb. The Germa technology is still inside him. He carries those modified genes, and even though he didn't activate them on purpose, they've already started manifesting. Queen himself, a scientist tied to the MADS project, recognized Sanji's hidden potential and seemed eager to see how far it would go. But what if Queen wasn't the last to push Sanji past his limits? What if, in a future battle, in a critical moment, Sanji is forced to rely on that power again, and this time loses control? The emotional pain he's carried throughout his life, his mother's death, his father's rejection, the abuse from his brothers, the pressure to meet Zeph's expectations, the fear of hurting a woman, the trauma from Whole Cake Island, all of it is bottled up inside him. And that's dangerous fuel when combined with a body programmed to kill. Sanji might be suppressing it all for now, but the longer time passes, the harder it gets to ignore the possibility of a breakdown. Imagine a scenario where the crew is in extreme danger. Maybe they're trapped on an island run by world government scientists, or facing enemies with powers that manipulate minds or emotions. Sanji, seeing Nami or Robin in danger, is forced to let everything loose. And when that happens, he's no longer the Sanji we know. His eyes change. His gaze becomes empty. The fight too precise, every strike deadly, and most disturbing of all, his expression cold, emotionless, just like Ichiji, Niji, or Yonji. In this state, Sanji could end up hurting his own crewmates. Not because he wants to, but because his mind is blank, taken over by the instinct that was artificially implanted in him. The scariest outcome isn't that he kills someone, it's that he becomes unable to tell friend from foe. The mere fact that such a breakdown is even possible creates a huge amount of tension in the story. And here's a detail many overlook. Oda has always built the Straw Hats as a supportive family, but one that also keeps secrets. Zoro, for example, has always watched Sanji with a bit of suspicion. It's no coincidence that Sanji trusted only him with a heavy request to kill him if he ever lost control. Zoro accepted. That pact wasn't random, it was a seed. Oda showed that even Sanji fears what he might become, and when a character fears himself, we know the author is setting the stage for that fear to be tested. Maybe Sanji's transformation won't happen during a regular fight. Maybe it'll happen in a dramatic moment, with the Straw Hats separated, and he has to protect one of the most vulnerable crew members. Maybe it'll be on an island where science has gone too far, like something related to Vegapunk or even Elba. Or, in the most tragic case, it could be at the end of their journey, when the whole world is watching the Straw Hats as symbols of a new era. And in that moment, the kind-hearted cook, the protector of women, the right-hand man at both feasts and battles, becomes everything he's always hated. But why would Oda do this? Because One Piece has always been a story about freedom, about identity, about defying fate, and Sanji has a personal mission to prove that he's more than the weapon his father tried to create, to show that even if his body was made for violence, his soul belongs to him. If he goes through this collapse, if he loses control, it'll be the hardest moment of his life. But it could also be the turning point that finally frees him from the Germa legacy. Maybe he needs to lose control in order to truly reclaim himself. Sanji isn't going to kill any of the Straw Hats. That much we can be almost certain of, but the risk that he might hurt someone or lose control over his own body is very real, and that's exactly what makes this theory so powerful. It's not about betrayal, it's about redemption. Sanji fights every day against something no one else can see, and sooner or later that struggle will explode in a violent way. When it does, the real Sanji will have to prove he's still in there, no matter how deep he's sunk. As Sanji gets closer to his breaking point, the emotional and physical pressure he carries makes him a ticking time bomb. It's not just the weight of expectations on his shoulders, but the constant internal battle between his desire to remain human and the genetic forces trying to take control. The clash between these two worlds, a normal man and an artificial creation, has always been there, but never so clearly as now. And as he grows stronger, more dangerous, the doubt starts to eat away at his confidence. That doubt, which started with the fear of hurting a woman, becomes more evident as his powers grow. The possibility that he could become the monster his family always wanted him to be is something he simply can't ignore. Sanji fears not just becoming a killing machine, but losing what makes him unique, his humanity. The guilt, the fear of his own instincts weighs even heavier than any physical challenge he faces. What makes all this even more agonizing is that Sanji can't just run away. He's an essential part of the crew, and his loyalty and love for his friends are unquestionable. But the fear of putting those same people in danger because of what he is, because of what his genetics were designed to become, is a painful dilemma. What would he do if he lost control? What would happen if in a moment of crisis, he couldn't tell friend from foe? That constant fear puts him in a unique position within the Straw Hats. He's not just a cook or a fighter. He's someone in a never-ending battle with himself, someone who knows his true journey is more internal than any fight he's ever had. And that internal struggle, that fear of becoming what he's always hated, is the true driving force behind his story. Sanji is searching for freedom, but a much deeper kind of freedom, one that lets him be himself, free from the chains of his dark past. The biggest threat to that freedom is the idea that if he loses control, he'll also lose his identity. The Sanji we all know and love, the gentleman, the passionate chef, the protector of women, could become a shadow of everything he's always feared. That's the real risk. Not that he turns into a villain, but that he loses his humanity and becomes just another piece of the war machine his family tried to build. When he asked Zoro to carry the burden of killing him if he lost control, he wasn't just facing that fear, he was also creating a safety net. Zoro is the only one who, knowing the risk, accepted that pact. And that moment reveals just how deep their friendship runs. Zoro, more than anyone else, understands that Sanji needs someone to keep him in check. He's not just the crew's swordsman. He also carries the weight of being Sanji's last line of defense against the part of himself he can't control. That pact and act of trust and understanding is a reflection of the bond between them. And more importantly, it's a sign that eventually Sanji's fear will be put to the test. But the greatest dilemma isn't just the risk of losing himself to his power. The real test will come when he's faced with the choice of sacrificing his own freedom to protect others. What happens when Sanji finds himself in a situation where his protective instinct outweighs his emotional control? Maybe it'll happen on an island controlled by world government scientists, or in a fight against enemies who challenge his most basic values. Whatever the setting, one thing's for sure. When Sanji's inner conflict reaches its breaking point, he'll have to make a choice: give in to his instincts or fight to hold on to his humanity. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.